So, before I go back out, I wanted to do a gear review of what my gear looked like on this when I was hiking from basically Skycomish to Crystal Mountain. And starting at Skycomish, I was still using this, my Osprey XS 58, which is a great bag. It's held up well. That was the pack I was using. I have just keep a gallon. At this point, it's come down to a gallon Ziploc with medical and sanitary items in it. This is where I keep ibuprofen, moleskin, bandages, which I actually needed because a good tip is if your hands are really wet and you can see you've got those like wrinkles in your fingers and your lighter is wet. Don't spend too much time trying to get that lighter to work, or you'll rip the skin off your thumb. That's what I did there. And as a consequence, I got some Neosporin when I was in Uniclaw. But that's my medical kit. I keep this at the bottom of my bag as an extra water bottle. I don't really use it very much. My water bottles are still the Nalgene, with that I keep nested in this dipping cup, and also it's a good way to cook coffee in the morning. And then a Gatorade bottle. Then I still got olive oil, it's Tabasco sauce, and a Ziploc in squeeze bottles. I have not used this in quite a while, but it's my Aquamira. This is just my toiletries. Sometimes pick up a little travel size of mouthwash just to help keep my mouth clean. And I do try to shave out here, so my shaving cream, toothpaste, all that. Gold Bond, because I found that wearing long underwear and rain pants over pants, I do get a little bit of chafe sometimes, so this is good just to make sure that that doesn't get too bad. Advil, that actually goes in there. My Rainfly for my Osprey. Then I picked up, and then of course petroleum jelly, which is extremely good for starting fires, with a little bit of tissue paper. You just wipe the tissue paper with the petroleum jelly, put it in a little pile of dry, hopefully dry tinder, light that, and you should have a fire going in no time. You just got to be careful how you feed it. Even with wet wood, this can start a fire. The conditions right now are such that you really can't even do that because it's too wet. The ground's too wet. I tried doing it the other day and I wasted about 45 minutes. So that's my fire starting kit, and also good for chafe. For my camera, I've got some memory cards, and I got a new battery. I had that Mossy battery, which I liked, except I kind of lost it. So I had to get a new battery, so I got this one. I haven't had enough experience with it. This has a higher AMP or something. It puts out more energy, but it doesn't seem to hold the charge as well. So I'm gonna see how this goes. But it's basically, the specifications are basically the same as the Mossy, but it looks a little different. Looks a little snazzier. So we'll see how this one goes. Still got my Tyvek sheet. I use the ground sheet. I also use this to throw over my bivvy when it's raining. I keep these just as trash bags, just shopping bags. These are my two food bags. This is the PCT bandana that I use to help flag down rides. I haven't been carrying my mini, but it's over there. I've got over here my Tika Petzl headlamp. It's a rechargeable one. It's recharging right now. That's worked out pretty well. One of the problems with it has been that it sometimes will turn on inside the bag, and you don't realize it till hours later, but your battery's on half. And I've noticed that if you keep it plugged in to a cord, it will not do that. Like it's in the off. It can't be turned on when there's something plugged in. But then that sort of lifts up the covering on it and makes it less waterproof. So this could be improved on. It's a good headlamp. I like it a lot, but the on-off switch thing is a little problematic at times, just because it can turn on inside a pack. This again is my clothing bag. I have basically the same clothing I had before. I kept a change of pants. I was carrying 3 pairs of socks, long underwear, actually 2 pairs of long underwear top, 1 long underwear bottom, and that was about it. And that's my pillow too. Then this is my bivvy in here. My bivvy bag is in here, And I keep my bivy bag in there with my Thermarest, my Neo Air, which is great. That's worked out well. Traveling with a bivy in extremely rainy, wet conditions where it's rainy for days, it poses a lot of problems. When I head out again, I'm going to be carrying my LL Bean Microlight tent and not the bivy. But I just wanted to document, this is what I had from basically my hiking around up to the Canadian border all the way to Crystal Mountain. I just had my bivy. It makes it tough. Now, up till Snoqualmie, I had an LL Bean Ascent Gore-Tex Pro Shell as a jacket, but coming into Snoqualmie, it had started leaking in the sleeves and in the back, and I don't think there's anything I can do about it. So I picked up this Arc'teryx Beta shell. It's a Gore-Tex Pro Shell. This has worked out really well. They are very expensive. This was something like $500 from an REI, which is an extremely expensive jacket. It's worked out extremely well so far. I would have liked to have paid a little less. I could have probably picked up an OR, Outdoor Research shell, that I believe was also a different grade of Pro Shell. But anyway, this has worked out extremely well. I wouldn't trade it for anything at this point. It's really the main reason why I was able to get from Snoqualmie to Crystal Mountain at all. And then also in Snoqualmie, I picked up these Meteor mitts made by Outdoor Research. And basically these mittens are really neat. There's a Gore-Tex shell, so that it breathes, and then inside are these mitts that have some great features. Like you can just pull the tops of the fingers off, so you can manipulate your fingers without having to take the mitt all the way off. It is kind of tricky to pull the mitts in and out. What you do is you sort of loop this around your wrist, so this holds the shell on your arm. Pull these out, but you know, they're great. I mean, they kept my hands warm when they were wet, and because I fell into a creek up to about my neck when I was wearing the shell, the jacket and the pants and these, and I made it through the night. It turned over to snow, and these are excellent. I can't think of any ways to really improve them. I'm still again figuring out how to use them best, because there are some features. Like if you look at these actually have magnets sewn into the micro fleece that make magnetic connections to the inside of the shell to hold it in place, which I've never seen. I've never had gloves that were this snazzy, mittens that were this snazzy. My mom did get us mittens that were this snazzy. And then these are the Arc'teryx rain pants. I picked these up from REI in Denver. They have a side zip here. These are also Pro Shell, I believe. They have the zippers are sealed, and it's worked out really well. In the bottom, it cinches. There's actually sort of a gaiter. This is not really showing up very well. There's a gaiter in the bottom that has what's it called? It has adhesive. This Velcro. Thank you. There's some Velcro that you can use to keep your pants from getting wet, the bottoms of your pants from getting wet. I did find that in really deep snow, I needed an external gaiter over this, so I was like halfway with the gaiters. But then I did hit terrain where I really needed gaiters. You can sort of cinch this in a lot, but I was getting snow coming up inside here, which is largely because I was in deep snow and should have had additional, like you can see how these snaps here, there are gaiters, and there's another external gaiter system that would have snapped into this and gone around the underside of my boot or my shoe. These aren't the shoes I'm wearing. I was wearing the Ultra Lone Pines, which were great. These are now sort of my default driving shoes, because this one got a big hole in the toe there. But anyway, so these are the rain pants I have now, and what I'm gonna do, because I'm going back out, I'm gonna switch over. I'm gonna switch back to this bag. This is the Osprey 60
or no, 65. I'm sorry. This is the Atmos 65. This is last year's. This is an older model. They've redesigned these a little bit, but I'm going to go back to this because I know I can carry more weight with it without having any problems with the straps. So I'm going to go with this. Oh, and my sleeping bag. The sleeping bag I had for the Washington sections, which again was a mistake. I should have had a fully synthetic bag, but I have this. It's an REI. It's an REI Radiant. It's like a treated down bag, and this was a mistake. It's great when it's dry, and I was anticipating cold temperatures with snow, not like a wet cold. So when this is dried out, it's excellent, and it's great in the bivvy. You can sleep right on the snow. But when this gets wet, it loses so much R value that you're shivering all night. And I was able to keep it pretty dry. There was one night where this was pretty much swamped, and luckily I made it to government camp the next day and dried it out. But this, if I were to do this section again, I would have a fully synthetic bag. It would be a little bit heavier, but that problem with water would be zero. So anyway, going forward, I'm going to be using this bag again. I'm going to be using my Yellow Bean Microlight tent. It's in here. I'm going back to the tent from the bivvy because when it is raining, it's nice to have something over your head you can cook and sort of sit down for 5 minutes. But basically, the rest of the gear is going to stay the same. And so that's my gear report. PCT 2015. I'm in Stevenson right now, and I'm probably going back up to Trout Lake tomorrow. Gonna hike and then hike back to Stevenson, and then back to Trout Lake, and then I'm gonna have to make an assessment of what gear I'll need for Mount Adams and back to Crystal Mountain.